welcome to another talk from this month of Copilot sessions. Thank you for joining me today. My name's Delargy and I specialise in secure human behaviours, which is why I'm really excited to discuss the critical intersection of workplace technology and human behaviour with you today. So in this session, we'll be exploring how M365 Copilot, a transformative tool that you all know, can enhance productivity and decision making. But remember, its success hinges on understanding and considering human behaviour. So if we just go on to the role of M365 Copilot, let's start by understanding what M365 Copilot really is. And as this is a month of Copilot sessions, I'm aware that obviously you'll be hearing a lot about what Copilot is, so I'll keep it short and sweet. So Copilot is really a feature of M365 that uses artificial intelligence to assist you with various tasks such as writing, designing and researching, as we all know. And it can generate suggestions, insights and feedback based on your input and context. So Copilot is really designed to enhance productivity and decision making, and it can help you save time, avoid errors and improve quality, as we all know, and also help you discover new possibilities, insights and solutions. However, what I want you to remember here is that Copilot isn't a magic wand, and it's deeply intertwined with user behaviour, which is something I do really want you to remember. So how you use it, how you interpret it and how you react to it can affect its performance and impact. So our goal really here is to optimise Copilot's impact by aligning it with human processes. So if we just move on to exploring psychological factors, how do psychological factors influence users' interactions with Copilot? Well, as humans, we're not always rational or objective. We have a cognitive bias, we've got emotions and preferences that shape our decisions and actions, and these can really affect how we use and perceive Copilot. So firstly, cognitive bias and decision making. Cognitive biases are mental shortcuts and errors that can really distort our judgment and reasoning. So for example, confirmation bias is the tendency to seek or interpret information that confirms our existing beliefs or hypothesis. And that can really lead us to ignore or dismiss Copilot's suggestions that challenge our assumptions and expectations. Next, we've got user trust and confidence. So user trust and confidence are the extent to which we believe that Copilot is reliable, it's reactive, it's accurate and it's helpful. So trust and confidence can really affect our willingness to use and accept Copilot's assistance, as we've seen in many of our customers. So for example, if we trust Copilot too much, we might actually rely on it blindly and overlook potential errors and limitations. If we trust Copilot too little, we might reject or ignore its valuable input and miss opportunities for improvement. Lastly, there's the emotional responses to AI assistants. So emotional responses are the feelings and emotions that we experience when we interact with Copilot, and that can affect our satisfaction, engagement and motivation to use Copilot. So for example, if we feel frustrated or annoyed or put off by Copilot suggestions, we might lose interest or confidence in using it. And vice versa, if we feel delighted or surprised by Copilot suggestions, we might enjoy or appreciate it and use it more. Next, if we go on to behavioural factors and alignment. So why is aligning Copilot's functions with user behaviour so crucial? So as said before, Copilot isn't a standalone tool, it is a tool at the end of the day. It's part of a complex system that involves human users, tasks and goals. To ensure that it's really effective and beneficial, we need to consider how it fits into this system and how it supports user behaviour. So firstly, we should consider intuitive versus rationale processes. So intuitive processes are fast, automatic and effortless, whereas rational processes are slow, deliberate and effortful. Copilot can help us with both types of processes, but we really need to be aware of when and how we use it. For example, Copilot can help us with intuitive processes by generating quick and easy suggestions, but we really need to use our rational processes to evaluate and define them and refine them as well. Copilot can help us with rational processes by providing data insights, but we really need to use our intuitive processes to generate and test hypotheses to be really sure that we're happy with using the information that Copilot's given us. Next, if we think about user adoption and acceptance. User adoption and acceptance are the extent to which users adopt and accept Copilot as part of their workflow and routine. User adoption and acceptance can really affect Copilot's usage and impact. So if users are adopting and accepting Copilot, they may use it more frequently and effectively and benefit from its features. But if a user resists or rejects it, they might use it less and often incorrectly, and therefore they'll miss out on the advantages. And lastly, feedback loops for continuous improvement. So feedback loops are the mechanisms that enable users and Copilot to learn from each other and improve over time. So feedback loops can really affect the performance and quality that Copilot has. For example, if users are providing feedback to Copilot, such as rating or commenting or correcting its suggestions, like seen where you may see, if you're familiar with Copilot, the thumbs up and thumbs down buttons, Copilot can learn from this feedback and improve its accuracy and relevance. So it's really important that we're aware of those features. And in another way, Copilot can provide feedback to users, such as explaining or highlighting its suggestions, and users can learn from the feedback and improve their skills and knowledge with information that they may not have previously been aware of. So now let's move on to looking at some case studies and learn from some insights there. So let's learn from some real-world scenarios. So here are some examples of how Copilot has been used in different domains and contexts, and what risks and challenges have emerged. So firstly, if we talk about the example of pilots, where the over-reliance of automated systems have caused in aviation for pilots to use autopilot systems to assist them with flying and navigating. However, over-reliance on autopilot can lead to a loss of situational awareness, reduced manual skills, and increased vulnerability to errors or failures. Similarly, in writing, when users are utilising Copilot to assist them with compromising and editing, over-reliance of Copilot can actually lead to a loss of critical thinking, reduced writing skills, and also increased vulnerability to plagiarism or misinformation. Next, if we look at the example of doctors, blind spots due to algorithmic decision-making can be found in healthcare if doctors are using AI systems to assist them with diagnosing and treating patients. However, blind spots due to the algorithmic decision-making can lead to misdiagnosis, mistreatment, and even discrimination in some cases. So, for example, if we're looking at it in the lens of Copilot, some AI systems may be found to be biased against certain groups of patients, such as women or minorities, due to the data or methods used to train them. So similarly, in research, users can use Copilot to assist them with finding and analysing information. However, blind spots due to algorithmic decision-making can lead to misinformation, confirmation bias, or ethical issues. For example, some Copilot suggestions may be based on outdated, inaccurate, or incomplete sources and might not reflect the diversity or complexity of the topic. Lastly, if we look at the example of teachers and balancing efficiency with critical thinking, in education, teachers use AI systems to assist them with scoring students' work and also providing feedback. However, balancing efficiency with critical thinking can be challenging. For example, some AI systems can grade essays faster, more consistently than humans can, but they might not capture the nuances or creativity or even the originality of a student's work. So similarly, in design, users can use Copilot to assist them with creating and modifying visuals. However, balancing efficiency with critical thinking can be really challenging. So for example, some Copilot suggestions might be aesthetically pleasing and easy to implement, but they might not suit the purpose, audience, or the message of the project. So we need to be really vigilant of that. And that leads me on to talking about the risks of algorithmic bias. So algorithmic bias, is it a friend or foe? So algorithmic bias is the systematic and unfair deviation of an algorithm's output from the intended or expected outcome. So algorithmic bias can result from various factors such as data, methods, or objectives used to create and train the algorithm. Algorithmic bias can have significant consequences for decision making, especially in domains that can affect human lives, such as healthcare, education, or justice. So if we first talk about the dangers of bias in decision making, bias in decision making can lead to unfair, inaccurate, or harmful outcomes. For example, bias in decision making can affect the quality of healthcare, the access to education, or even the delivery of justice. And bias in decision making can also undermine the trust, confidence, and satisfaction of the users and the stakeholders, and therefore may lead to less use of it. Secondly, if we talk about the impact of diversity and inclusion, bias in decision making can affect the representation and participation of diverse and marginalised groups. For example, bias in decision making can exclude or discriminate against certain groups based on their gender, race, ethnicity, age, disability, or other characteristics. And bias in decision making can also reinforce or perpetuate stereotypes, prejudices, or even inequalities. So, for example, if we think about Copilot, for example, in the whole, some people may have more access than to others. So, thinking about who may have access to the tool could lead to how it may have inequalities in it. So it's always something important to bear in mind, which is why it's so important that we talk about mitigation strategies. So bias in decision making can be mitigated by various strategies. So for example, one of them is data. So ensure that the data is used to create and train the algorithm is representative, relevant, and reliable. Then let's talk about methods. So ensure that the methods that are used to create and train the algorithm are really transparent, can be explained, and are accountable. Thirdly, if we talk about objectives, just to ensure that they are ethical, fair, and aligned with the user and stakeholders' needs. Then we've got evaluation, so make sure that it's regularly and rigorously accurate, valid, and has the correct impact that it's intended. And lastly, participation, so ensure that the algorithm is developed and deployed with the involvement and input of diverse and affected groups. So ensure that before you start, that you're taking into consideration all factors here and ensuring everybody's involved. But obviously that can never be completely avoided. So the next thing to talk about here is the mitigating of risks. So how can we safeguard against the pitfalls here? So as I said before, Copilot is a really powerful tool, but obviously it comes with its risks and challenges. So to ensure that we use Copilot wisely and responsibly, we need to adopt some strategies for success. So firstly, fostering digital literacy. So what is digital literacy? It's the ability to use, understand, and evaluate digital technologies and information. So fostering digital literacy can help us to use Copilot more effectively and critically. For example, we can learn how to use Copilot's features and functions, how to interpret and verify its suggestions and feedback, and also how to recognise and avoid its own errors and limitations. Secondly, if we look at implementing ethical guidelines, so ethical guidelines are the principles and standards that guide our actions and decisions when using digital technologies. So implementing them can help us to use Copilot more ethically and responsibly and feel more secure when using it ourselves, within ourselves. So for example, we can follow the rules and regulations that apply to our domain and context, and we can respect the rights and interests of the users and stakeholders, and we can acknowledge and address the potential risks and impacts of Copilot. And lastly, looking at promoting continuous learning. So continuous learning will ensure that people are acquiring and updating their knowledge and skills, and promoting continuous learning can help us to use Copilot more creatively and productively if we're willing to evolve with it at the same pace. And we can use Copilot as a source of inspiration, information, and insight, but we can also use it to challenge ourselves. So look at what new things we can learn, explore new perspectives that we may not have originally been aware of, and also generate new solutions. And with it, it may mean that we end up going down a completely different path than what we'd originally planned. So that's really something quite exciting, as it's something that we were never able to do before. So lastly, just wanted to give you a good roundup of harnessing M365's Copilot potential. So thank you so much for your attention today. And yeah, remember that M365 is a really powerful tool, but it is really our responsibility to make sure we're using it wisely. So although Copilot can enhance our productivity and decision making, we need to make sure that that's only if we understand and consider human behaviour first. And remember, it is a tool to assist rather to replace. And as Copilot can pose some risks and challenges, we need to make sure that that's only the only reason why that is the case is if we ignore or neglect human behaviour. So as long as we don't do that, we are going to enable ourselves more and reduce the risks and challenges that Copilot may present. So let's embrace the full potential of Copilot while respecting the human element in technology adoption. Thank you so much for listening today, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Thank you very much. Bye for now.